satellites? A satellite represents a journey, information gathering, this journey around the Earth. Welcome to Satellite Haiku. I am Shawn.
And I'm MiLo.
Hey, MiLo. Happy birthday.
Oh, thanks so much. Yep.
I had I've been down with a cold all week, so I'm apologies if I sniffle a little bit and or cough during this.
Stephen Colbert has he's losing his voice, and it's so interesting to see if you have to do this for a job, and you start to lose your voice. It's just so obvious, because
totally.
He was doing a funny thing where he would say, it starts to go way up here, but it's really strong down here. So if you don't mind,
I remember those colds where you get that lower register, and it's just like you have this chesty, deep voice, and I kind of loved that when I would get that voice, and I would really play with it.
Bill Clinton, when he was, I don't know which term it was, he was running in the election, and he talked so much he lost his voice. He already always has a husky voice, but he was losing it. So I remember, I lost my voice. I might have been in 7th grade or 5th grade or something, and I remember thinking, oh, I love this. And people kind of have to lean in to hear what you have to say, and it makes it seem more important. I don't know if you ever experienced that. It's like
no, I know, but I know what you mean, because there is a kind of power to the quiet voice.
Yeah,
like when you have like sometimes when you go opposite, when you're angry, or when somebody's angry and they go opposite the yelling and they go quiet voice, like it's something more terrifying about, or more authoritative, and more there's something more, it has more power somehow. I don't know.
And I think for me, when I have lost my voice from a cold, and it sounds like every word is sort of not painful, but valuable, like you're trying not to talk. So if you do speak, people kind of are more likely to take it with more impact. It's more meaningful because it's more valuable. They can tell. It's like a subconscious thing where they value it higher. I don't know why. But anyway, wow, man, dude, this has been like a roller coaster ride. I woke up this morning and I looked in the New York Times and it said former Prince Andrew has been arrested.
Yeah, I know. Prince Andrew was arrested. The former president of South Korea was sentenced to life in prison for inciting an insurrection, basically.
Wow.
And so other countries seem to hold elite and powerful people accountable for shit.
Well, just off the top of my head, Lula da Silva went to jail. I honestly thought it was a really crappy case. Like he was the president the first time he was the president, and there was a contractor who remodeled his beach home, and then didn't send him an invoice.
Okay.
So I was kind of so he went to jail for that, and I was like, so many other people in the the Brazilian Senate were caught in the Lava Jato scandal, and we're getting paid money.
That almost seems like that's where you start to go, well, that seems like political persecution a little bit,
right? Yeah, totally. But so then this guy from Korea, right? And then I think France didn't two French presidents have gone to jail.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, most recently, Sarkozy, I think, was found guilty of some way back, with some Libyan.
I mean, it's a dicey business, because you do have in the Philippines, right? Duterte, the strongman, the guy they had, right? Yeah. The next guy, the current guy in power was, and I don't know, I haven't followed this closely enough to even know what the outcome is, or if there has been an outcome, but he was pursuing a prosecution of Duterte and was looking to, and so my first reaction to the headlines was oh, cool, Duterte will be held accountable. But then I started to dig into it a little bit, and it was it's, and even though I think that Duterte absolutely needs to be, put in jail probably, or prosecuted for stuff, I just started to look at this guy's history, the current guy, and what his sort of, anyway, it just started to become really clear that it's not out of some sort of higher principled motive. It's really just, it's just you have one strong man that's jailing the previous strong man. And so, I don't know, I heard today on a podcast, so one of one of the thinkers who I really enjoy following is this woman, Cy Cantarell. And she's just one of those people that has a way of making, kind of providing like real clarity and context to things. And, sometimes she'll talk about the psychological drivers of certain movements, or sometimes she'll talk about political stuff or what business things, whatever. So, but she's a great thinker, and she appears on Virginia Heffernan's podcast from time to time, like about once a month. So Virginia Heffernan's a journalist. She used to write for the LA Times. Anyway, they were just saying their last month's podcast I was listening to today, and one of the offhanded remarks that one of the two of them made was just, it's really hard to fight fascism with democracy. And so the observation they were making was, democracy is procedural, it's slow moving, it's consensus based, all this stuff, right? So, it's why we had such trouble holding Trump accountable. Why it was so slow, the prosecution of Trump. I mean, in the most best faith sort of interpretation of why, the Merrick Garland stuff moved so slow and just didn't result in anything and blah, 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 right? And why there were even conversations about, should the next president pardon Trump if he is convicted, right? Like, just to kind of keep the peace and right, like these conversations happen. Like, can you, like, even though it is a justified prosecution, like there is a swath of the country that would just always process it as political persecution.
Yeah.
And in order to sort of calm that current in the country, should we pardon him if he gets convicted, like Ford did with Nixon, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just started thinking about, and that's why these, once you get into sort of strongman fascism, that's why it tends to be like, oh, the next one is just the next strongman, because you have the oppressed people, basically, the people that have been subject to the strongman regime. They are, like in Gaza, right? Like the Palestinians, they start to feel like there's no recourse, there's no process that works. And the only recourse is righteous violence. So like righteous violence to fight righteous violence, like you have one side that is perpetrating what they consider to be righteous violence. And you can't really fight that very well with democracy. You sort of like end up in this corner where you feel like, well, now I need to turn to righteous violence. And so it's hard for societies to get and nations to get out of that cycle.
It's interesting that you bring that up. My first thought was, whenever people were complaining that if Trump was convicted of 34 felony accounts and should be in jail, let's say in Georgia, right, for election meddling or whatever.
Yeah.
And people said, like, in our Constitution, someone is allowed to run from jail.
Yeah.
And I said, well, like when Yanukovych came to power, he put Yulia Tymoshenko in jail, like sort of just, like a... And everyone pointed at it, and it was like, oh, that's just going to keep happening, like over and over again, like you're saying. Yeah. And even, I mean, to be perfectly honest, when the people overthrew Yanukovych, a lot of people think that Putin invaded Ukraine because Yanukovych was his handler of all of the money.
Like his puppet, basically.
And he had all these sort of Ukrainian oligarchs that were holding money for him. And when Yanukovych got booted out, Putin was like, that's my stuff. Like, you took my stuff,
Right,
So that's partly why he invaded. Anyway, my point was, and isn't...
Yeah, about Prince Andrew. Yeah.
Back to Prince Andrew, like, someone on NPR said, to be clear, he's not the first British royal to be arrested. It's just in hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Like, so,
wow.
like, well, I don't even know who that was, but.
That's crazy. I mean, I think dominoes will fall. I think there's obvious reasons why they're being slow to fall here.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Obvious reasons. But I feel like, who was it? It was, I think it was Thomas Massey who was like, hey, by the way, I'm
not suicidal.
I'm in good health. I'm not suicidal. My car works. Whatever. You know what I mean?
He's like, I don't
that
have
was
any,
a little bit alarming.
A lot of them did it. Rokana did it.
But, so I mean, and that's legit, right? Some of these. There's anyway, so I don't know. We don't need to linger on this, I feel like dominoes will fall, and it will be really interesting to see that, this experiment of sort of reactionary far right, reactionary politics, and the sort of what do you call it, the anarcho-capitalist sort of stuff that is finally seeing its moment in the world. Because I always sort of rolled my eyes at libertarians and anarcho-capitalist types because they had these political theories, but they'd never been tested in the world, right? It's just like they had this idea that this is the perfect form of government as no state, right? Like taking my money and all this, right? But it was always made my eyes roll a little bit because it's that's never survived in the real world ever, right? Yeah. You can't point to a country that, unless you think medieval Iceland is a good test case, right? Or the American Old West, right? It's never existed in the modern world. And so it's just a little silly to take it. It's a little hard to take seriously as a political theory, right? Yeah. But we're kind of it's here now. It's arrived for real and it's being implemented on a mass scale and people don't like it. Yeah. But what's interesting is the thing that might defeat it is not the fact that it itself is unpopular. It's just that the people who are bringing it to the world might be so present in the Epstein files that's actually what might bring it down. It has nothing to do with the political project itself not being popular. It's just these fuckers are all pedophiles.
So, or even just part of an elite network of people who, if they're not pedophiles, they're giving each other insiders trading on stocks sharing planes and stuff.
Exactly. The idea that I think it was Ted Lieu was saying what is the word? Being a customer or a person who is a willing part. Even if you're not doing the crime, if you are, what is the word? Being a customer of an establishment that is committing crimes. If you are engaging with the organization that is trafficking people. Then you are actually the law makes you guilty. You know what I mean? You can't knowingly be a customer. Customer is not the word I'm looking for, but anyway. So you can't do business with those. And so the number of people that they might not have done anything bad themselves, but what is it? Epstein was pleaded guilty in what 2008 or
2008?
Right?
Yeah.
So
and to be clear,
anybody who is doing business with him after 2008 is guilty, basically, in my mind, right? They might not have done the shit themselves, but there is no excuse for dealing with that guy after 2008.
And to be clear, when people say he pled guilty, he pled guilty to such a sweetheart deal. He pled guilty to soliciting prostitution, right, with a minor, and yet all of these other charges that were far worse, sex trafficking of underage girls, they were all just wiped clean, and he got to leave the prison for 12 hours a day and shit like that. Right.
But there's no excuse for people not sort of understanding who they were dealing with.
Right. It was all over. Yeah. So my point in even bringing it up was that my mother-in-law is here from Colombia. She's visiting for a couple of months and love having her here. We've been doing a lot of projects around the house. I've been fixing plumbing in the kitchen and the bathrooms. And she's been working in the house kind of with me, and I've just feeling a little protective of her. I didn't want her to hear about the Nancy Guthrie case, for instance, just because she would feel scared, or ICE, so I've tried, don't talk about those kind of news stories. Mm-hmm. And I thought, and she won't know anything about Jeffrey Epstein. Well, I walk into the kitchen and she's organizing all the dishes and stuff. And on the Colombian radio show that she's listening to on her phone, I just hear all this Spanish and then Jeffrey Epstein, all this Spanish Jeffrey Epstein, all this Spanish Prince Andrew, all this. And I was like, oh my God, like every country in the world is talking about it. So that's,
shit.
I can't protect her from it if it's all, if it's on her own NPR, you know, for Colombia.
Yeah.
But you're right. I wanted to say two other thoughts was, it's so funny to me, like when you said this, you know, libertarian anarcho-capitalism, whatever. Yeah. A lot of times the argument, those people...
They call it ANCAP.
ANCAP. A lot of those guys just either refuse to or are ignorant to the fact, all of that, the term, the common good, like those common good things that we all depend upon.
They are opposed, they are like explicitly opposed to what they call collectivism. The whole concept of the common good is something they oppose.
But ... until Silicon Valley Bank goes fucking belly up, and then they're like, bail us out. My venture capital firm
it's like that.
Made
that's
a mistake.
Another reason why it's hard to take seriously, because there's so much sort of hypocrisy built into it.
Totally.
Right? Like there's this somebody, you know, coined the phrase some time ago that about conservatives, you know, and I think it's fair. It basically is that conservatives want to be protected by the law but not bound by the law.
Yeah, that's it.
And they want everyone else to be bound by the law but not protected by the law. And so, I mean, that's a perfect example, right?
Well, and they want everyone to be bound by the laws that they would prefer, like no abortion.
Right.
You know, it's like their things, but not anyone else.
Yeah.
And in this case with Alex Preddy, it was an interesting thing to watch. The Second Amendment people were like, actually, and then, you know, Kash Patel was like, oh, you can't bring a gun to a protest. That's just wrong. It's illegal. And it's like, no, it's not.
It just becomes this test case where do you actually have principles or do you just have loyalties, right? Like, and I mean, and I remember seeing that in, I mean, so like with the sort of the abortion, you know, kind of restrictions that were starting to spread, and also immigration crackdowns. Like this was during the first Trump administration, or when was Dobbs overturned? During the first Trump administration, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So it was like, you know, so you have people, you know, and their you know, Latino neighbor gets targeted and pulled out of their house, you know, and in the community rallies, or, you know, like a Trumpy community rallies around their neighbor. And it's like, we voted for this, but not for that guy, right? To be taken. Like, that's the example of like, we want to be protected by the law. Like he's one of us, like he should be, it's like, well, you voted for the law, but not against him. Like,
right.
Right. And the same thing with like, oh, that, you know, that girl that, you know, whatever, just some same thing with like she should be allowed to get an abortion, right? Because she was raped, and she's one of us. It's like that. Yep. Like sometimes those exceptions, bound by the law but not protected, or protected by the law but not bound by the law. Sometimes their calls for an exception to the law are really, really just blatantly obvious, and you know, like this person shouldn't. The law that we voted for shouldn't apply to that person.
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's super explicit, and it's like, you voted for that law.
I thought it was really interesting. Chris Mays, who's the Attorney General of Arizona, former Republican from Prescott, Arizona, won by like 238 votes. Like it was very close, you know.
Yeah.
Mark Kelly, that election won by like 170,000, you know, and they, you know, so anyway, so she, you know, when that Alex Preddy shooting happened, she was asked in a press conference, like, what about, like, in Arizona, it's a cowboy state, we have open carry, no restrictions, and concealed carry, no restrictions. Like I can put a gun under my coat, as long as it's not a sawed-off shotgun, you know, like there's certain rules.
Sure.
But I could put an AR-15 under my jacket, and then stand my ground. If you're coming at me in the parking lot and I feel afraid, it's legal for me to defend myself.
Yeah.
So if a masked man with an AR-15 is coming at me in a Walmart parking lot, I can fucking kill him because it legally in Arizona.
Yeah.
So she was basically saying like, ICE, like don't fuck around. Like this is a state where it's legal to stand your ground. And if someone doesn't have a badge on and like they're just running around with a mask and a gun, if you get shot, I'm not going to prosecute this person, you know, like she got all these MAGAs were calling for her to resign, and
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God, blah, blah. And I was like, wait, those are the MAGAs that are like, don't make any rules about guns. Like, don't,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, don't,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I just was so
Right. No, they
interested.
don't have any. Yeah.
So interesting.
So speaking of an anarcho-capitalist guy, do you remember Larken Rose?
Yes.
In our growing up, do you know what he's been up to for the last bunch of years? Right.
All I remember is that he was anti.
He has like 700,000 followers on YouTube.
Wasn't he like pro no income tax? Like it's illegal.
Yeah, he's like an anarchist.
Yeah. And he was arrested.
Like an anarcho-capitalist. Like he is a true anarcho-capitalist.
Okay.
Right. So like, but it's interesting because he actually has strong principles. Like he's very principled. And so like HBO or Max or one of whatever the fuck it was at the time.
One of the greatest
HBO
branding
Max now,
fails.
but they did a documentary series about anarchists maybe about 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you can sort of see him, and it was basically, it followed this sort of like collapse of the anarchists, sort of like this community, because just like dumb scandals. And the dumb scandal side of it is kind of entertaining, but not all that interesting to me. But it's basically like this group of anarchists that had a conference, that would meet in it. They would organize this conference every year, and then like they had this fracturing, and there was a group that split off and tried to do their own conference because they disagreed with some of those sort of the way. Anyway, and then it just collapsed from there. But he's in that. So I used to just once in a while check his content on YouTube, and I'd watch a little bit and just sort of like, what is this anarchist? Partly because one of my brothers was really into it at one point. Like, Larken Rose is like a really brilliant guy and whatever. I was like, okay, whatever. So, and again, I find that whole, it's sort of like that political theory. I just find kind of eye-rolling because it's never been tested, right? And there just seems like so many obvious flaws in it that if it were tested, it would fail in such predictable ways. And then just even on the level of first principles, like I just disagree with it. Like the idea that we don't want like public resources at all just seems nuts to me. Like I want a society that has like libraries and public art and like an educated populace and stuff like that. Like I want those things, and a healthy populace, right? Like I have just at a first principles level, I think the state has a duty to provide certain things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why have a state at all? And of course, they don't want a state, right? Like they just think private property, whatever. So I would just kind of watch his stuff, and I disagree with it, and I think the arguments are flawed and all that. Anyway, so I just thought I just yesterday, it occurred to me just to see like, what does Larken think of all this shit? Like the current regime, like what is it? And it was interesting to see, because like the most recent video I saw on his content was said MAGA is definitely a cult, and I was like, oh, interesting. So and it was like kind of refreshing to see somebody on the right who's definitely like an arch conservative, an anarcho-capitalist, who is like, this Trump thing is not what we signed up for. Like it's because a lot of the people in his sort of like circle who claim they'll have those principles abandon them completely when Trump is the one doing the stuff. Right?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So it was actually kind of refreshing to see, like, here's a guy I don't agree with at all, whose ideas I think are lame and dumb, but he actually sticks to those principles behind those ideas. Like he's not some blind follower of Trump, even though I think he was a supporter of Trump. Like, wow. But like he's a. Anyway, it's just always it's weird that it's so nice to see somebody actually have principles.
Yeah,
but
no, it's true.
It is a good thing.
Yeah. I found myself always in that awkward position. Like I made the joke that like Marco Rubio and I agree about almost nothing except for getting rid of daylight savings. Like I just but then like with the Alex Pratty murder, I found myself feeling championed by Rand Paul. Like I absolutely hate Rand Paul.
I know, like Rand Paul's another guy who seems to actually have principles. Like I don't agree with his politics, but like he's not a blind follower of Trump, minus willing to just abandon his principles.
And I remember his dad, Ron Paul, who was an OBGYN, I think. And I remember hearing him speak like 20 years ago. And I'm not like a libertarian at all. I'm super left. But I remember him saying, abortion and marijuana, like the government shouldn't tell me what to take out of what I can take out of my body or put into my body, period. That's just, I don't get no matter what it is, they shouldn't be allowed to do it. It's none of your business, right? And I was like, wow, what an interesting,
I mean, Ron Paul was an extremely problematic guy in about a million ways, but like he did have a few, like there were aspects of his libertarian sort of freedom thing that were, that were hard to argue with.
I mean, it's just weird when you hear something and you're like, dude, that makes a lot of sense. I'm not going to give up my Democratic Socialist, campaign card but I'm like, that's actually very, very reasonable,
Yeah. Anyway, so we don't need to linger on all the political stuff, but
I do want to spend a little bit more time though, just because. So we went back. I started with I almost said Saint Andrew, Prince, the artist.
Hardly a Saint Andrew. Yeah.
The artist formerly known as Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
Or the Prince,
the royal formerly known as Prince Andrew.
Known as Prince Andrew. Was arrested, and so. To me, someone had said, like, that's the first royal in hundreds of years to be arrested. And I thought, actually, other than Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein, it's the first co-conspirator to face any kind of justice.
Yeah.
The first. Like, isn't it the only other person?
I think so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, there have been, like, Larry Summers had to step down and things like that. But in terms of actual legal consequences,
Yeah.
So that's why I say I think the dominoes. He's a big domino to fall. I think.
Right.
And another writer whose work I really admire lately is Carol Cadwalldr. I'll have to find her name again. Anyway, she's a Brit, and she writes. She has a Substack called Surviving the Broligarchy, I think.
That's funny.
I think that's what it's called. Anyway, really she's another journalist who is just a great writer. And but she had a great piece about, or just had a great rant about, like, here we are in England, and this, Prince Andrew, like one of the most elite of the elites over here, his own brother is willing to sort of like let him face consequences, right?
Yeah.
And what the fuck, America? Like, you guys, your leaders, even like Lutnick, like he's not even like the president, and somehow he won't. You guys won't even make him face consequences, right? Like,
yeah.
So anyway, I think I do think that I hope that people like Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie will just continue to keep their foot on the gas.
Yeah,
and then it. It's I have a hard time trusting politicians to actually do the right thing, but they seem to be unwavering. So
I'm really grateful for that, and I guess So that's all I really wanted to say about that whole Epstein thing, and the fact that I was trying to keep my mother-in-law sheltered from it, and it was like there's no way to do it.
I love that your mother-in-law is there and doing it's sweet. Like when people like that, when mothers and aunties and when they come to your house, they can't not do work.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
She really loves it.
They can't be idle. They can't be pampered. They have to when we have a family party and we have aunties and uncles over and stuff, and I mean, it's awesome because, they will do the dishes. They do all the dishes. They they refill the trays. They, and I can't stop them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
And,
my mother-in-law has been here before for extended periods, and always felt a little bit trapped. Like, she doesn't like to drive. She has a license, but she doesn't like to drive.
Oh yeah.
And there's not, her friend who lives across town is like 35 minutes drive away, and then back. So anyway, I took her to this place called Thai Market, which is our little local market, and we had a breakfast sandwich maybe 2 days ago, And she loved it. She's a foodie, so she just loves really good food. So then she
tell me about the breakfast sandwich at Time Market. You're like an aficionado or a connoisseur of breakfast
literally
sandwiches.
I've had, let's say, 85 breakfast sandwiches. Tried them. It's the best one I've ever had.
Oh yeah. So let's describe it. Just take a little side. Yeah. Do you mind taking a little quick detour and describing it?
I love that. Yeah. Okay, so here's what they do right. They had their own bakery in the back, and they make the best sourdough bread in town. Just phenomenal. And they make...
Oh, shit. That reminds me. I was supposed to start mine today, but I forgot. Anyway, continue.
We baked ours last night. And I did a cold start, which I'll tell you about.
Oh, yeah.
A cold start, very interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. The Time Market breakfast sandwich.
So they make their own. And it's like a brioche bun that's puffy, but not like gooey. It's like, has some structure to it, but it's soft. Has sesame seeds on it. Mm-hmm. Then they put on a slightly spicy chipotle mayo. A really nice big old what's that artisanal heirloom tomato slice that's like a chunk. Really several layers of excellent fresh lettuce. Yeah. Awesome Neiman Ranch bacon. Mm-hmm. The egg is over medium, just like you like it, where it's like not... It doesn't like explode.
In a sandwich, you want it medium or even a little bit on the well side of medium. Yeah, because you don't want it drizzling out of your sandwich.
I take the little stick that they use in the to hold it together, and I poke it a bunch of times. Yeah, kind of like in the Gladiator when he went up to give him a hug and
kind of soaks into the bread and all that.
Exactly, so that it doesn't go over. I hate it when it goes over your fingers. That's the worst.
Like you want it to be soft. And creamy a little bit, but you don't want it to be oozing out all over your hand.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So then, and then there's Swiss cheese on it that's melted, nice. And I think that's it. And it's just they did it right. They only have this option. You can either get avocado or bacon. Okay. And then there's
can't have both.
Yeah, and then there's basically no other breakfast option, and they're famous for pizza and things like that. But But and they're famous for like lunch sandwiches. Nice. But this is the only option, and it literally is. They did the work, and it's absolutely
the bomb.
The bomb. And I try to do my own at home, and I made sourdough last night. And
okay, now tell me about cold start.
Yeah, so the first thing was at Christmas. I was at my mom's, and she doesn't really have the right kind of Dutch oven. It was just like too wide and too flat. Yeah. So I wanted to make sourdough bread there. So I used 2 bread, what are they called? Bread bit pans, those long rectangular things. What are they called? They're called loaf pans.
Loaf pans, yeah.
I took 2 and flipped one on top and used metal clips to hold it together to create the steam area. Sure. And then halfway through I pull that off and let it toast out. Works really well. You don't need to worry about, as long you don't need the Dutch oven. It's much easier to handle those than the Dutch oven. Mm-hmm. And you can cook both at once. Like with my Dutch oven, I do 1 loaf and then I do another loaf, and it takes twice as long and twice as much electricity.
You just need 4 bread pans?
I got 4 bread pans, and you flip them over. They're cheap. They're like $19.95 for 2.
So, but shape-wise, then you have like a really tall loaf. Like shape. Right?
Yeah, you have, and it works for me for sandwiches. It's nice because you don't get like that nose and then the kind of it gets bigger
like
in the middle.
It's more uniform.
Yeah, it's more uniform, easier for sandwiches and stuff. And the fact that you can cook 2 at once, you're saving half the electricity. The cold start, which I've never tried before, but everyone's raving about it on my sourdough forums. Okay. The fact that that's
this is why I talked to you, because I'm not on the forums.
I'm on the forums.
So like I get the curated sort of the digest.
So what you do is you cold proof the bread overnight in the fridge, in the pans.
Overnight.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first you do the first part's the same. You mix the dough.
Autolyze four sets of stretch and folds.
Autolyze it, whatever.
Pre-shape. 4 sets of stretch and folds, pre-shape, and then the final shape, and then you put it in the loaf pan.
In the loaf pan,
not
in the basket.
No, you put it loaf pan, seam down.
Yeah,
I'm now using these silicone like liners because it's stuck to the parchment paper. Okay. Someone told me that if you just use,
because I proof overnight, but in the basket.
Yeah, because San Francisco, it's pretty. Oh, in the fridge, yeah. So I proof now. I'm proofing overnight in the pan. So imagine instead of the basket, you've got the pan. seam side down.
But you were proofing overnight in the fridge before, right?
With baskets for years, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So this is why I love this new method. So the two changes for me are using the bread pans and the four.
Okay. Yeah.
And then proofing in the pan. You pull it out.
Yeah.
Turn the oven on.
Yeah.
450.
Okay.
You score the top, put the lid on. I put my clips on, pop it in the oven, come back in an hour. And then you take the tops off, and you can go 15 more minutes, 20 more minutes just to get it crispier if you want it. And
Wait. So you steam it for an hour?
Well, so the cold start is it comes out of the fridge, goes right into a cold oven.
Oh, it goes into a cold oven.
But the oven's on. You turn it on right as you put it in, and then you just come back in an hour. And it's gone all the way up to preheat. It slowly
what would, if you just did that with your regular Dutch oven, what would happen?
People do it in the Dutch oven too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more mass in the Dutch oven, so I think it's going to take a little longer too.
Yeah.
But you might have to
So you do it like an hour.
And then you pop the tops off.
How long does it take for your oven to reach temperature? Because mine takes a while.
Mine probably takes about 10 minutes.
Okay. Mine takes at least 20 minutes.
So you might need to just go for an hour and 10 minutes. Like some people say you go for 40 minutes or 55.
So when you say cold start, it's a cold oven start that you're talking about.
And you're bringing them out of the fridge. It's not like you left them on the counter. Some people let them come to room temperature for a while before they... So you come straight from the fridge into a cold oven.
And you get a nice rise and everything in the oven?
It's great.
Really? Oven spring?
Probably,
whatever?
A lot of people are in the forums are saying it's
because I do the opposite kind of. Like I start my oven at 500.
Yeah, that's what I've been
with
doing.
the Dutch oven in it, empty.
Yeah.
And then I put my bread into the empty Dutch oven that's been preheated to 500. Then when I put it in the oven, I turn it down to 450.
Yep, that's what I do too. I think that's tartine, right? I've done that for 6 years, but you got to try this method. You'll get more oven spring, and it doesn't make any sense, but you'll get more oven spring and less electricity is used.
Interesting.
Yeah, people are going
I
crazy
like the
about
idea. All right, I'm going to try that today.
I'd love to hear like from a scientist or a physicist why that works better.
Yeah, interesting.
But it just does, you know.
All right, bread talk. That's our bread talk
That's
segment.
our bread talk segment. Yeah, we're doing.
Yeah.
So try that sourdough method.
What else is on your mind? So I have on a lighter note. I just I have, I could riff on stuff.
Okay, so the only thing I wanted to talk about is I've been literally for about a week up to my ears in plumbing repairs.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you knew back when you were a painter or you're doing construction and stuff, like Will, my friend and I who had a roofing company in high school and college, we used to do this thing called, we'd strip off the roof and then we'd do something called the walk down memory lane, where we would walk through and be like, why would you do that? Like, why would you have, like, obviously at the time it seemed like a good idea, but now that it's rusting out, it clearly didn't work,
Right.
It's rotting and there's mold here because you forgot to, put so we do the walk down. So anyway, so I live in this old house in 1986, built by, my wife have warned me in the last episode, I mentioned some celebrity names.
Yeah.
So she said, why don't you just use names like John C., like this guy named John C., who's a famous builder. He's done a lot of infill. I've lived in 2 of his houses. They're very quirky.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, he's one of those guys who is a builder, but he wasn't a plumber. He wasn't an electrician. He wasn't a window installer. He wasn't a roofer.
He did all the things that maybe he should have subcontracted some of the things.
Or at least had like some dude come around to like look from the city to like
a gut check, sanity check.
To code. Like he put
like
the shower pipe, he put it up from the base thing up inside the wall. And there's like 3 little screw things for the mounting.
Yeah.
And he just was like, meh, there's no wood there, so I'll just leave it. And so it's like swinging.
I see.
And if you like you pull on the shower head and it's going to wiggle, it's eventually going to break. Like,
right.
Just swing.
Yeah, we have a couple maddening things in our house too, where it's like they didn't use stainless screws in some of the plumbing stuff, right? Like, so I have a drain in the shower where the screws like rotted into the drain and you can't, so now like I need to replace part of the drain, but like I can't screw in the new part into the old holes because the screws basically just rotted into the... Yeah. And I just thought like, that's one of those things that pisses me off. It's like when you have a thing and the failure of the thing is some really trivial, like totally avoidable. Yeah. Or you buy my bike rack. I bought like a multi-$100 bike rack for our car that fits into the trailer hitch, which I had installed on our Subaru and all that, right? Like getting this upgraded bike rack was a big deal, so we could take 4 bikes. But the mechanism for raising and lowering the bike rack is a little plastic handle.
Yeah.
And it broke off because it takes quite a bit of force to like move it, and then and it's like, why would you put a tiny little plastic handle, a brittle plastic, barely, with on the $600 bike rack? I hate that. Anyway, so yeah, when you have something that's overall a good product, but it has one really trivial, obvious, stupid failure point.
I always imagine when I hear stories like that. So in my life, in 7 years in the corporate wilderness, there were things that were broken about, let's say, our website, right?
Yeah.
And we had 155 affiliate companies that would, affiliate country groups that would use the materials and tried to use them. But if we fucked up, then they would be like, hey, how come I can't get my documents from my customer?
Right.
And I would be like, well, it's because we had this Oracle database and this other one. And they'd be like, can't you just fix it? And I'd be like, it's kind of a long story. Like, in order to fix it, it's like we'd have to tear out this and put this new thing and hire someone to, and they're like, oh. So we just never did it, right? And I had a list of things, like to-do list of things that I could fix.
Right.
That I used to sort of leave for the end of the day, let's say like Friday afternoon, like at 3 when everyone else is going home early. And I was like, I may as well just do those things to knock them off one by one.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking I'd get to that list and other people would be packing up their bags and I'd be like, just fuck it. Like I would just leave and not do those things, you know? So I almost feel like I would always imagine like, I'm the guy who's the product designer who's responsible for that, fixing that handle. And my boss has said for like 6 months, like, nobody likes the handle. It's our biggest complaint. It's like the biggest pain point. It comes in all the time at trade shows. Like people are like, that fucking handle, why would you? It's like 100% 5-star, except for the handle. And the kid's like, oh, that fucking handle. I got to redesign the handle. And he's always just kind of procrastinating and not doing it, And then the second round comes around and his boss is like, did you fix the handle? Because that's what customers hate, right?
Right.
Anyway, I look at myself and go, I did that to people. Like you know what I mean? Like I would hear their pain points, hear their feedback, and I would think it's more complicated than you think. Like I'm not going to. Yeah.
Well, and it is. I mean, I get that it is, and it shouldn't have been designed that way in the first place, but fixing something like that is complicated because, like, it's not a matter of just the designer making a new decision. Like, it has to ripple out all the way to suppliers and manufacturers and assemblers and all that, right? Like, it can't just be, anyway. Yeah. Anyway, super, super annoying.
So if it's okay, so my plumbing story
keep going,
is, to do a lot of the plumbing, I'm lying on my back. Yeah. And I had this little pad, and it's like my mid thoracic is like right over the edge, so I'm like back bending and it's digging into my kidneys and stuff.
Like you're under your kitchen sink.
Yeah, and like the sink is here, the wall is here, and I have really big hands, and like I can't get up inside there with the tools because it's like working on a motorcycle, and I'm cursing, and I'm hoping my mother-in-law doesn't understand the curse. Yeah, like I'm hoping I'm sure she knows
like
the word motherfucker.
Screwdriver slips off the threads for the 5th time, and you're like, God damn! And it was so hard to get it.
All this shit is falling on my face because you got to get under.
I just replaced our kitchen sink, so I'm with you. But ours is fairly easy. But keep going. Yeah.
So and a couple of times I replaced my glasses with throwaway old ones because I don't want like a tool to like ruin my new glasses. And I'm literally worried that I'll drop a little wrench on my teeth.
Oh man!
Because I'm breathing hard and it's like it falls a lot, right?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so I go into Home Depot, and there's this woman named Carol, and she's been there for 18 years, kind of like 60s, and she even has on her shirt like 18-year.
I love that about Tucson. Like you can actually survive on what you make at Home Depot, so you can just stay in this. So you get like really good help at places like that because you actually do get the person who's been there for 18 years.
So I walk in. And at first, I'm sorry, this is a long story, but I'm backing up. My mother-in-law wanted to clean under the kitchen sink. She likes to organize. And we had like a box of cleaning supplies and weird shit under there. So she pulls it all out, and there's this rotting wood place where there's been a leak for years, and it's rotting and there's mold.
Okay.
So I was like, oh God, that's like a 5-day repair. Like I have to do, rip out the mold, put in patches and paint it 5 times and wait for it to dry. Like, meanwhile, the leak is...
Then while you're doing that, you run into 5 other problems that you couldn't see on the surface or whatever.
Yeah. So, and the leak was coming from that stupid spray nozzle thing. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it was even leaking. I think it was just like dripping back along the...
That's what happened in our kitchen sink in Tahoe. It was dripping down through... The little hose connector to the sprayer was leaking, and it was dripping down under the sink, and it wrecked our floor and ruined the wall in the bedroom down below. Because, we have enough guests there that I just don't think they cared, and we didn't catch it in time before like 10 people used the sink for days and days. Yeah. So So anyway.
So
Yeah, it caused, when we had to replace our kitchen floor, we had to like rip out part of our bedroom wall in the downstairs floor and all that. Yeah,
that's actually way worse than what I had to do. But I really feel you. So I walk into the Home Depot and my face is obviously, I'm exhausted, my back is hurting.
Yeah.
And I have all this like broken, shitty plumbing with me to like try to figure out how to fix it, And she just is like, hey, come on, man. I totally feel you. I'm here to help. I know exactly what you're going through.
Love it.
And she literally goes, I'm gonna guess that your kitchen sink stuff is like at least 20 years old. And I was like, yeah. And she goes, wait till you see the new stuff. Like she showed me this box for the new faucet, and there's a picture of a guy lying on his back, like sweating. Yeah. And then there's like a red line through it, and then it says like top install.
Oh.
And I was like, whoever designed this should win a Red Dot Award and a Nobel Prize, because you literally just put it down through the hole, put a drill in and go, and it just brings the nut up for you, and that's it.
Nice.
And you're like, who the fuck? This person deserves a Nobel Prize.
Totally.
Like, you have to get under there to hook up the water.
Nice.
But you don't have to reach up in that nasty gap and turn the stupid thing. And what a amazing. Yeah. So I'll have to.
So that's the flip side of like the dumb shit, the stupid designs. It's like somebody is actually thinking.
Yes.
About the whole end-to-end process and like, I'm going to make this delightful.
Yeah. And like, for instance, have you heard of the shark bite?
No.
So you've got copper piping, and in the old days, you used to have to solder it, and it's really hard to do. Like even pros will get little pinholes and they'll have to do it again. And if you don't put enough flux on, your dad taught us how to solder, right? It's not that easy.
No.
So, so my pipe, I needed to cut off the copper pipe in the wall.
Yeah.
Because it was wasn't attached to anything, and it's going to break. And the guy goes, take this tool and you just turn it and it cuts off the pipe. And then you take this other piece and you slide it on and it just goes click.
Oh my gosh.
It's called the shark bite. And you just push it on and it lasts for 100 years. And
it was probably on Shark Tank. And those guys were like, I like your product. I want to invest. I'm going to offer you $300,000 for 4% of the company, but we need to name it because Shark Tank is your investor base. We got to rename it Shark Bite. I mean, it's obvious, Shark Bite. We're going to do it.
And I'll be perfectly honest. I think they're underpricing it because
So like Mark Cuban was like, you're calling it Shark Bite or I'm not an investor.
It probably costs like $8.95.
Yeah.
And I imagine what it would be like if I had to hire a plumber to solder. You know what I mean? Like, it took me like 30 seconds and it saved me like $600 or something. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, I love.
It's funny when you get into those projects and you see your memory lane thing resonated because like a few years ago I had to replace a toilet here, and when I removed the old toilet, it was sitting on top of like, there's like, I don't know if you've ever replaced a toilet, but like there's a big gasket underneath, and this gasket, it was sitting on top of the gasket was like 4 inches of like basically putty. That it was because somehow the flooring and the toilet was just like the height wasn't right, and so they were like, "Oh, we're going to solve this by just piling up more and more putty."
Oh my god! Did it leak? Like, was it leaking?
No, it was leaking. That's why I had to replace it. But it lasted 10 years, I guess.
Yeah,
so like,
the putty lasts.
Yeah. So I was like, it was again one of those things that became a much bigger project because I was like, well, the normal standard parts, I could see why they did this because like the normal standard parts, it won't work. It needs to be higher. And how do I make the toilet a little bit higher Anyway, because the subfloor, it was like the toilet was mounted on the subfloor, but the tile around it was higher.
I see. Yeah.
And it was just like, this is so dumb.
And they don't make an extender.
But it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, you don't know how dumb it is until you like take the shit apart. Just like you take that roof off and you're like, why would they do this way?
Right.
Like you could have just tiled all the way up to the pipe and then it would have been fine.
Yeah, right.
Or whatever.
I used to have a theme in my yoga classes. I would always have a theme to try to drive whatever kind of like, somatic exploration we were doing, right?
Yeah.
And so I had one that was called "It Seemed Like a Good Idea at the Time."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this one, I was like, when your boss yells at you and you kind of don't know what to do, so you clench your jaw and you tighten your neck, and it's like that causes, like, down the road, it's going to cause a lot of neck pain. Then you're going to sleep funny and it's going to crick. And but like. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but it was a terrible idea,
Yeah, totally.
Oh my gosh,
we all have those. All right.
Wow, I didn't realize you were such a plumber. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, not, it's just one of those things where you're like, I'm not gonna like to get a plumber or an electrician in San Francisco. It's crazy. They're so busy, right?
Yeah.
And so because there, at least during that, there was a big building boom here. Pre-pandemic. And so plumbers, electricians, any tradesperson who would get subcontracted by general contractors.
Yeah.
Those people, like you would, first of all, they could charge you like through the roof because they were so busy. They didn't need the work.
Yeah.
Secondly, they would just bail on you, like, because they would get a better job at the last minute.
Oh, wow.
Or their general contractor would be like, who they have a relationship with, was like, we need you on this site tomorrow or whatever, or we got another project, and they'd be like, well, fuck that guy with with the house who just called me, like, because I don't want to burn this relationship with this general contractor, right?
Like 5 of Mark Zuckerberg's toilets need to be reinstalled, so Shawn's out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like one of those things. Having said that, like I won't do like serious electrical work. It's just too scary.
Yeah, no,
plumbing work, like I'll learn how to do it, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. I'll figure it out. But it always becomes a bigger project. But now, I've replaced toilets and sinks and done so much of that now. And I'm sure you have as well.
Yeah, I had a weird. I'm the same about electric. Like I'll do some light. I guess like I'll like replace an outlet or something, or a switch.
Well, also you feel like if you do it wrong, like even if you get it done but if you do it like imperfectly, like the potential risk is higher. Like even if you don't hurt yourself in the process and you get it all done, it's like there's always this nagging thought, like what if I did it slightly wrong and it causes a fire?
Yeah.
In 3 years, right? Like. There's just like the risk and the costs of getting it wrong is way higher because with the plumbing it's like, it leak. If I get it wrong, it's gonna leak.
Yeah. Or
something like that, and I'll have a big puddle on my floor and I'll have to do it again. Like like that's not that high a cost.
Right, and also I have tried to replace, like 12 years ago, one of my like a thermostat switch for the burner on the like I have one of those glass ranges, They're like it's like a radiant, like a red light coming
right.
in.
Yeah.
And something about, I think it was the thermostat burned out. So you can take the top off and you can replace it. It's not that hard. It's like a slip in part, plug in part. But when you run back to the electrical panel, and you're yelling to your wife or girlfriend, like is it off? Is it off? And then you come running back up and you go back and forth a few times.
Yeah.
And I just got out of sync where I thought it was off.
Oh. Yeah.
I just was
and you zapped yourself.
Well, it was 220 because it was the range.
Shit. Yeah.
And I had been taught like never reach in like this because you tense the muscles. You want to reach in and tap it with your knuckle, right?
Right.
Because then it'll pull back. And I didn't do that. I just put the thing on
because you were confident that you had done it right.
I shoved the thing on and it threw me across the kitchen floor and I landed on my back. And
that is the worst feeling. Like it's such a traumatizing feeling. Like I have PTSD from the times I've been shocked.
It's nasty. And you also sort of, for a second there, you wonder, since I'm a Swedenborgian, I often was raised with.
Yeah, we
I
have
often
that
think
moment
like,
where like, am I in the spiritual world
am
now?
I dead? And there's someone slowly, people are going to come and be like, dude, you got something to tell you.
Right.
It didn't go well with that electrical thing, you know?
Yeah.
You really shouldn't have done it with the 220, you know?
Yeah, like I don't have a problem replacing like a light fixture or, like doing the kind of work you just described, like at an endpoint of an electrical connection, like the stuff that happens at the endpoint, I'm pretty comfortable with.
Yeah.
The stuff that happens further up the chain, like toward closer to the panel or installing a new line, that no fucking way I'm going to do that.
Yeah. I knew a guy who was an electrician, and we asked him, maybe through the yoga studio, and we said, hey, can you come and repair something at the house? And he goes, are you kidding me? I only do new construction. He's like, the people who do remodel shit, like he's like, that's a different culture. Like that's why the
AI will never, like it'll be a long time before AI gets to plumbing and electrical, because like it's one thing to have a robots come and do new construction, they can 3D print a fucking house now, but if you need to do your plumbing work, you're not going to like, what would it take for a robot to do that work? Like it would have to train for some period of time in real world settings, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to have like an incompetent like robot in your house that you're sort of tutoring and mentoring to do this dumb stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we'd all have to have these we'd all have to have Elon Musk like authoritarian regime say like, hey, you're gonna have Elon's robots in your house now, and they're gonna be learning. And you'd be like, God damn it, the robot fucked up my toilet.
So you bring up a topic that I do want to talk about that's relevant to the script that we should keep working on. So
I was down with a cold all week, so I didn't do anything.
And I was literally like, I think I was up until 1 a.m. working on the sink, and my wife was like, time to go to bed. Anyway, so
excuse me.
So sometime I watched this guy on YouTube. He's he's a documentarian, and he's a podcaster. Yeah. And he talks about the industry and the trends and sort of like, and he said, hey, this is really big news. This Irish filmmaker went on to a Chinese video, large language model called Dance, S-E-E dance.
Okay.
.cn or something.
Okay.
And he typed 2 sentences in the prompt. He said, make me a fight scene on the roof of a building with Brad Pitt fighting Tom Cruise in a I don't remember the prompt exactly, but like in like a John Wick style. They're fighting on the roof. 30 seconds later, there's a 2-minute clip of Brad Pitt, a guy who looks exactly like Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, like cinema real, 24 frames a second, like full res film looking video.
Yeah.
Of that. And he put it up on his blog and posted it somewhere and read it and just said, it's over for people like me. It's over. Like if there's ever like a high budget fight scene, they're just going to do that. Like why would Hollywood ever, And so this guy wanted to say, think back to when everyone was paying portrait painters to paint pictures of their kids.
Right.
And in 1875, someone was like, I can just take a photograph and it's perfect.
Yeah.
And the painter was like, and then they're like, well, it's way too expensive, so I'll just do the photograph. Like he said like that, there's been so many disruptors where a technology literally put everyone out of business. He goes, but there's been a lot of, like you would have thought that many, many times the theater, like going to the theater would be over.
Yeah.
But there's been like a resurgence in people wanting to go to the theater, even this younger generation.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to happen.
I think that's the key. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're in the middle of a second or third or fourth, like sort of hype/alarm cycle about AI right now because of what Claude Cowork and Claude Code are doing and stuff like what you just described. And I think people were like, like we had the initial launch of ChatGPT and everyone was like, oh, we're all done. Like shit's done. Right. And then people started to really experience it and go like, well, it's pretty bad at a lot of stuff. And, like it'll be a while before the shit's done but then, this next wave of it actually looks pretty legit. And you're like, oh shit, like there's a lot of jobs that are just toast right now. But Yeah, I think the key is we don't know what's going to happen, and you know, like I think it's a good time for people to read about the Luddites again. Like that whole movement was pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
Like I think people have this cartoon version of the Luddite movement in their heads and what that means, and we use Luddite as a label now, that a shorthand for a particular perspective. But I don't think a lot of people really know exactly what the Luddites actually did and what they stood for and what they were advocating for and why. Anyway, I think it's more relevant than it ever was.
Yeah,
right now.
I've been thinking, because I'm not obviously, like, I'm an extreme conspiracy theorist, and I'm not sort of a prepper. I'm not a prepper, put it that way.
Yeah,
I'm not a prepper.
Yeah. I'd be like that lady in The Road that just tapped out. Remember?
No.
You know The Road, Cormac McCarthy's The Road, and then they made it into a movie with Viggo Mortensen.
I don't think I've seen it.
And it's like a boy and his son. It's like a post-apocalyptic world, and it's not really clear like what caused the apocalypse, but like it's just like, you know, these two, man and his son, and they're walking through this like wrecked world, and you know, they're encountering the dangers of the other barbarian roving bandits and shit like that, right? Yeah. It's just like any other post-apocalyptic world that you see on the movies and whatever. But like they have a flashback scene where like as the world's basically, as they've sort of like come to terms with the fact that the world is done, like this current civilized world is over. The mother and the wife of the guy and the mother of the son, and he's like an infant at the time, is just like, yeah, I'm not like the whole prepper world, like the life that you know, like the survivor life is not for me. Like I'm out. She just kind of taps out at that point.
Yeah, I kind of understand. Like, there's part of me that is very competitive, and like when it comes to like athletics and things, like if I'm on my own and I'm trying to run faster and faster, like I've seen myself be extremely diligent and disciplined about preparing for some, like, let's say the Tough Mudder event or something, you know?
Yeah.
I train for things, right?
Sure.
And then with the kids, like we used to train pretty damn hard. A lot of it was around like alpine rescue. Like I would make them climb 2 climbing ropes by hand, and I would say it's very painful and you can do it. It's just hard, but you might have to do it someday, and it would suck to not have this like wherewithal to just do it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's good to practice that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm not like the guy in the Royal Tenenbaums, you know, who made his kids do the fire escape, you know, like the fire drills. And really, you were 13, you'd be dead by now. You know, he's like, I'm not like that, but there's part of me that thinks like it would be, like one thing I think would be really practical would be to know how to hunt and like skin an animal and cook it over a fire. It's, you know, make a fire. I think making a fire.
But it's just like, but then it goes back to that root question. Like the core question is, do you have that survivor urge or mentality or whatever? Because there's a part of me that's like, you know, if you kind of believe that you're like, so you could have a belief in an afterlife, like heaven, right?
Yeah.
Like that this is a temporary world. I don't really have that, but I do have this sense that like my consciousness right now is embodied sort of arbitrarily in this meat suit. Right?
Yeah.
And so my consciousness is not an emergent quality of this particular meat suit. It's somehow contained in it right now. Like it is a little bit arbitrary that like my consciousness thinks it exists in this body, when if you like, I zoomed into the atoms, right? Like the atoms of my body are mostly just empty space, and it's not a stable set of atoms. Like there's parts of my cells are always falling off, and like part of me is this biome that isn't even part of me. Like it's arguably some other set of atoms and molecules and organisms that are in me, and like then I look at this desk in front of me, and if I zoomed into at the atomic level, you wouldn't see the boundary between my butt and this chair at all. Like you wouldn't even know where one began and one ended. And so there's a little bit of me that's like, why do I this is all like a weird illusion that I am in this body. Anyway, so given that there's a part of me that's just like, if life became too hard, I'd just be like, why am I still here? Like Like, why am I so attached to this body and this world that I can't just leave? Like, this is the time has come. I'd be like that lady. Like, what's so important about this body surviving?
Interesting.
And in this current reality, like I could just go and, I'll go somewhere else.
That brings up a lot of interesting questions. But the first thing I think of is, do you remember the story of the guy who started Outward Bound?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know the story. I know Outward Bound.
You know Outward Bound, right? Yeah. So he was a guy. He was not a sailor, like not a lifelong sailor, but he was somehow on like a merchant marine ship, and it sank. Yeah. And he was treading water with the other sailors for I think 3 days. Like they were hurting because they didn't have fresh water and blah, blah, blah. And he watched these seasoned, like decades-long seasoned sailors give up hope and drown. Yeah. And he was like, weird, like I don't know anything about like how bad the situation is, but I am not yet at the point where I want to give up.
Yeah, it's kind of like that Everest, like the that like you had that Everest where that John Krakauer wrote about, similar thing. Like you had seasoned guide that just gave up, and you had like a random climber that was just like fought tooth and nail to survive.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And it's almost that like they knew that the chance of being rescued or not being eaten by sharks was so low that they were like, fuck it. It's sort of like you're saying, right? Like they knew more than he did. Anyway, so he survives. Yeah. And he said, I would like to create a program where we put you under duress, where you feel lonely, cold, tired, it's dark, you're scared. And you just have to go inside and like have a conversation with yourself about, hey, we just get it done. Like how, like train yourself to, when you're in that situation, decide to survive. Like that was the idea, right? Yeah. I'm paraphrasing horribly, but that was what I remember hearing. Yeah. And I remember thinking, like, so I did that with my girls. Like I would take them to a place where they were just so tired. And then I would say, now you have to do a really complicated thing. And sometimes you're going to need to just dig deep. You
sound like that show Hannah, Like
like I was like that guy, kind of. Yeah, that's funny. But actually, when I was watching that show, I was like, that's kind of like me.
That's kind of me.
That's kind of like me, except for we didn't
That's
play
Luke, also my brother and his daughter. That was like his whole, because he was a bit of a prepper for sure. Yeah. My brother, or still is probably, I have no idea. Yeah.
But I would say like to my daughter, we would go on like a 3 or 4 mile run in the neighborhood. And then the last 100 meters, I would say, let's sprint flat out. Like just go as hard as you can go. And as we would get to that nasty, like 12 seconds in, your body says like, wait, what are you doing? Yeah. Things start to hurt and burn. And I would say—
it helps in those situations so much to have that other person with you that you're competing with. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say to my daughter, now's the time to dig deep, like go really deep and
You're not necessarily competing with them. You're competing alongside them.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
And you're saying, anyway, it's only another 12 more seconds.
Right.
And there's really not a lot that you can't handle for 12 seconds.
It's interesting that seems to be such a natural thing. It's like, because I do this like plyometric workout sometimes and stuff. And there's, like you do these different exercises every 30 seconds, right? You're jumping this way, and then you're jump squatting, and then you're whatever. And then but each one only lasts like 40 seconds or whatever. Yeah. But they're always, you get to a point with everyone, it's like, I can do this for 10 more seconds. Come on, it's just 10 more seconds. And it's like a natural thing. And with running or anything else, it's like, you start to do this 10 seconds at a time thing in your mind. Yeah. It's like, I'll just keep doing this for 10 more seconds. And then that 10 seconds lands and you're like, okay, 10 more seconds. Or it's like, oh, I just need to make it to that telephone pole. All right. Okay, I did it. Now the next one or whatever. Yeah. Totally. It's funny how you break it down for yourself, and that's such a natural thing to do.
Yeah. I think it's because our brains are very uncomfortable in uncertainty, and beyond the 10 seconds, we just don't know if we can do it.
Yeah.
But within the 10 seconds, we feel fairly familiar with that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've been thinking a ton about certainty lately, and that's an interesting way to think about it. I never thought about it that way, but I think you're right. Because I've been fascinated with like the people. There's a sort of like a temperament of person that just can't tolerate uncertainty in general. Yeah, and I think that has the people who have that are causing a lot of problems in the world. But I never thought about it in that context. Maybe we all have it, and maybe that's a version of it that we all have, for example.
Yeah. I remember when I worked in the corporate world, I worked in the diagnostics industry, I had 50 internal clients, customers. Like, there were marketing teams that would come to my team to create collateral, right?
Okay.
And they'd always come to me, and they always would say, like, I would say always, like 95% of the time, they would say, how long is this going to take and how much is it going to cost? And I'd be like, we've never done it before. I'll tell you what, I'll do a pilot project where I do, a beta test. We try to figure out, and then based on that, I'll be able to tell you. Yeah. They'd be like, nah, that's not good enough. Like, I need to know now. And I'd be like, you can't. You're a scientist. I'd be like, you work for a scientific company. Everyone does, what's the term I'm looking for? Not betas, pilot projects. I mean, you just got to do a pilot project. The only way to find out what the task set is, how long it takes, how many people it's going to take.
Like, if you don't want to pay for that, then, or if you don't want to wait for that, then I'll just charge you, like, then you just create like a astronomical sort of padded fee.
Right.
Like, covers all your contingencies.
Whatever you think it's going to cost, multiply it by 4, because, there's one of those factors is the pain in the ass thing, so.
Right. The uncertainty.
But it's interesting that for me, the answer is, and actually, I have this sort of philosophical, I have a desire to create some kind of art or a script, a movie around the idea that, how people talk about A/B testing in digital advertising?
Yeah.
I sort of feel like when you hear about string theory and how there's like parallel universes, I have this like cool sci-fi idea that like we're just like if there were like infinite number of A, B, C, D, Z tests, and we're just one of the tests to see what would happen. Yeah. Like that's kind of how it feels, right?
Well, that's a multiverse, right?
That's the multiverse too,
Yeah. Have you heard of the quantum suicide thought experiment?
No.
So it's just a version of the multiverse. I think you can, but like the simple explanation or the simple description is like, it's this, that the idea that you just said, like essentially that we are experiencing one of an infinite number of multiverse realities, right? And when you die in this one, like in that moment where you electrocuted yourself. Yeah. So it's sort of like the Swedenborg version where like the idea of the quantum suicide thought experiment is what actually happened was you did end that. You did die. But it was your consciousness seamlessly moved to another one of those infinite number of where your life kept going. So in that moment, yes, you did die, but you don't know it. You didn't experience it because when you die in one of those infinite number of realities, you just seamlessly carry on in a different one.
It makes me think of like, a video game where you have like power modules or chips or like extra lives, Yeah. And you literally die at that point and you don't have to go back to the beginning. You can use one of your lives to restart and
excuse me.
Now, what was going on if you're switching to another one? Yeah. Are you jumping into an empty track and starting over from that consciousness?
Well, so that's the interesting thing. Like when you start to dig into, well, what is your consciousness? Is your consciousness only one thing that is only living in one of those at a time? Or are you conscious in all of them and somehow you're only aware of one at a time? Or who knows? Like, I don't know. Like the consciousness side of it is very interesting. Yeah. My daughter and I have these really great conversations in the car a lot, especially her, but my son is, all three of us. But she has big questions always. And we were talking about teleporting and like what would it, and there's like, this is one of those string theory things too, and just like unconsciousness theory as well. Like if teleporting was real, like how would it work with your consciousness? Like, so there's a couple ways teleporting could work. Like if you were teleporting to Mars, let's say, right? Yep. And so like, assuming you could travel instantaneously, assuming that light speed wasn't even a limit, right? Even then, so there's two ways it could work. One is your atoms would be copied over, right, to Mars. So like all of your atoms that are you now, which is again that is what are your atoms versus not your atoms, but so even that becomes a weird question to try to solve in that technology. But like your atoms could be copied over to Mars, and then that we assume that your consciousness is like an emergent quality of your brain atoms somehow. If like something sufficiently complex has a consciousness, that's the idea of the emergent consciousness. So like once you copied all your atoms over, it would become a conscious entity, and then there'd be two of you, and you'd have to figure out like, oh, now we kill the first one because you've been copied over to the second one. And all your memories are intact. That's an assumption we've sort of made, but it's sort of disturbing, the idea that, okay, I'm going to create a copy and then kill the original.
Wow.
So that's one version of teleportation. Another version is somehow your atoms are transferred over, right? Like one at a time and then reassembled into you. Like you are dissolved on one place and rebuilt in another place. One atom at a time, reconstructed. And so there's no copy of you that you need to kill after the fact. But even if that could happen instantaneously, one atom at a time and no time has passed, like you're still kind of assuming that those atoms are going to, like, once they're built into you, like it's going to become conscious. Anyway, so it's kind of
those are always so intriguing.
It's one of those things that consciousness theorists talk about, that as a thought experiment, like how would teleportation work?
Yeah, how would it work? That's cool. It makes me think of Christopher Nolan's. What was the one where you have to go back in time, like backwards? Everything goes backwards, and you can't breathe.
Oh, Memento.
No, not Memento.
No. I don't know.
Like there's like that. Anyway, so I've watched I've watched Christopher Nolan diagram it on a whiteboard, and it's so. I think personally, I don't know this, but I imagine that the dude either does a lot of ayahuasca or psilocybin, because he just, the way he likes to think in these trippy.
I know which movie you're talking about. I can't remember what.
But let's say bye, Satellite Haiku. Thanks for coming. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Satellites? A satellite represents a journey, information gathering, this journey around the Earth.